Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping straight into something pretty fundamental, I think. It's this constant human tension, right? We desperately want to belong, to be seen, but at the same time, we're terrified of being rejected, of people seeing our flaws. It's like we're paralyzed by that fear sometimes.
It really is a paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what our source material tackles today. We've really dug into Dr. Brené Brown's research, like 12 years of it, mainly pulling from her book, Daring Greatly.
Okay.
So yeah, this deep dive is all about vulnerability, shame, worthiness, and how all that plays into finding real connection.
Right, and our goal here isn't just to, rehash the research. We want to pull out the practical stuff. Like, how does actually embracing our imperfections, taking those emotional risks, how does that lead to deeper connections?
Yeah, what's the mechanism?
Exactly. And why does Brown call this whole shift wholehearted living? What does that actually mean?
Well, I think if you ever find yourself, holding back, maybe comparing your life constantly, or just feeling like you're always falling short.
Yeah, which is probably most of us. Let's be honest.
Probably. Then yeah, this deep dive should hopefully give you some language, some tools to understand that feeling.
Okay, so let's start with the diagnosis Brown offers. This idea of a culture of scarcity. It sounds kind of heavy. What is it?
It's this background hum of anxiety, really. This pervasive feeling of never enough.
Never enough.
Yeah.
What, like money? Time?
It can be anything, really. Money, time, success, love. But it's driven by constant measuring and comparing. We look what we have versus what we want, or what our neighbor has.
Or what we see on Instagram?
Oh, absolutely. Social media fuels it like crazy. But it's also comparing ourselves to, like, how things used to be, or maybe this idealized version of how we think things should be.
Right. So it's this nonstop comparison loop.
Exactly. And the research points to the core of it being this deep-seated fear of being not enough, not smart enough, not successful enough, not thin enough, not lovable enough, whatever your particular enough is.
That definitely rings true. It's like this underlying feeling of unworthiness.
And Brown actually gives it a structure. She says this scarcity culture rests on 3 pillars: shame, comparison, and disengagement.
Okay, break those down.
So comparison keeps us focused on what we lack. Shame. Well, shame paralyzes us with that fear of being exposed, of being seen as flawed.
And disengagement.
That's our coping mechanism. We pull back, we avoid risks, avoid connection, just to sort of survive the shame and comparison. It keeps the whole cycle going.
Wow. Okay, so it feels like a trap. Because the natural reaction to not enough is usually to chase more, right?
Yeah.
More success, more stuff.
Right. We think abundance is the opposite of scarcity.
But you're saying the research suggests that's wrong.
It keeps us stuck in the same mindset. The real breakthrough, and it sounds almost too simple, is that the opposite of scarcity isn't abundance, it's enough. Just enough.
Ah. So it's not about changing your circumstances necessarily. It's about changing your internal perspective.
Exactly. It's about cultivating the belief deep down that you are enough right now, as you are, imperfections and all.
That sounds hard.
It takes immense courage. But when you start to internalize that feeling of being enough, that's when you find the willingness to actually engage with the world, despite the risk, despite the uncertainty. That's wholeheartedness. Choosing worthiness over the endless chase.
Okay, so that willingness to engage, to dare greatly, as she puts it, that's where worthiness comes in. Like the quote, if we're willing to dare greatly and risk vulnerability, worthiness has the power to set us free.
Precisely. The freedom isn't in hiding or perfecting. It's found right there in the middle of the risk.
Okay, this feels crucial. We have to talk about shame. Brown identifies it as this incredibly powerful, but often really misunderstood driver of our behavior.
Yeah, and getting the definition right is key. Shame isn't just feeling bad. It's that intensely painful feeling or belief that we are fundamentally flawed. And because we're flawed, we're unworthy of love and belonging.
Wow. So it attacks our core identity. It's not, I did something bad. It's, I am bad.
Exactly. That's the critical difference between shame and guilt. Guilt is about behavior. I did something bad. And guilt actually can be productive. It can motivate us to apologize, to change our behavior.
Right.
But shame is about self. I am bad. It makes us want hide, to disappear. We internalize those perceived flaws, see them as just who we are. That leads to isolation.
And people often confuse it with embarrassment or humiliation, too.
Yeah, they're related but distinct. Humiliation and embarrassment usually involve other people witnessing something. Shame can happen entirely inside your own head. It just needs that feeling of unworthiness.
And you mentioned isolation. That seems key. We hide our shame because it feels awful. But the research shows that silence actually feeds it.
Absolutely. Silence, secrecy, and judgment are like oxygen for shame.
Yeah.
Thrives in the dark. Because we don't talk about it because it feels so taboo. It just grows and controls us without us even realizing it.
So how do we fight back? If it's a universal human emotion, we can't just eliminate it.
No, you can't eliminate it, but you can build resilience to it. Shame resilience, that's the goal.
Okay. And the research outlines 4 key elements for that.
That's right. It's an active process. First step, recognize shame. Know what triggers it for you, physically feel it in your body maybe, and just name it. Okay, that feeling is shame.
Just acknowledging it.
Acknowledging it. Second, practice critical awareness. Understand the messages and expectations that are fueling that shame. Where did this should come from? Is it realistic? Is it even mine?
Kind of questioning the narrative.
Exactly. Third, and this is huge, reach out, share your story. Talk about what you're feeling with someone you trust, someone who can offer empathy, not judgment. That act of sharing breaks the silence and the isolation.
That sounds like the scariest part, maybe.
It often is,
Yeah.
but it's also the most powerful. And the fourth element is
Yeah.
speaking shame. It's about learning to talk about how shame works, both for yourself and maybe to help others understand it too, building that shared understanding.
So it's not just surviving it, but learning from it, connecting through it.
Precisely. Awareness, critical thinking, connection, and communication. Those are the tools to take back control from shame. Okay, so now that we kind of get the mechanics of shame, things get even more interesting when we look at how culture layers specific expectations on top of that, especially around gender.
Ah, right. So shame hits everyone, but the reasons we feel it can be different for men and women.
Exactly. The pain level is the same, totally universal. But the specific cultural rules, the shoulds that trigger that pain, are often quite gendered.
Okay, let's start with women. What are the big triggers there, according to the research?
For women, it often revolves around this impossible standard of, well, effortless perfection. Brown calls it the cult of busy and the cult of perfect.
Effortless perfection. Oof.
Right. Look naturally beautiful, be slim, be an amazing mom, have a great career, keep a perfect house, and make it all look easy, like you're not even trying.
That sounds exhausting, just listing it.
It is. So the shame hits hard when women feel they can't do it all, when they struggle with multitasking or when their appearance doesn't match that, airbrushed ideal.
And how does that shame typically manifest? What's the common response?
Interestingly, a common, often unconscious response is to criticize or put others down.
Really? Why?
It's like a quick deflection. If I point out someone else's flaws, maybe the attention shifts away from my own feelings of inadequacy. It's a defense mechanism saying, look over there, not at me.
Got it. Okay, now flip it. What about men? What are the dominant shame triggers for them?
For men, the cultural mandate is overwhelmingly, do not be weak, never show vulnerability.
The strong, silent type myth.
Totally. It translates into needing to be in control, especially of emotions, needing to achieve, earn money, take charge, be successful, be physically capable. The absolute core shame trigger for men is feeling inadequate, weak, or perceived as failing in those areas.
And their response when they feel that shame.
Typically, it's anger, aggression, or just completely shutting down, withdrawing emotionally, stonewalling.
Right. And this is where relationships get really messy, isn't it? When these different triggers and responses collide.
Oh, absolutely. Brown gives this classic, painful example. Imagine a woman feels overwhelmed or unseen, maybe invalidated. Her shame response kicks in, and she criticizes her partner, you never help out, or you don't care.
Okay.
That criticism directly hits the man's primary shame trigger. Inadequacy, failure, I'm not good enough. So his response, he gets angry, defensive, or just shuts down completely. Go silent.
Which then triggers her shame.
Yeah, right.
Fear of disconnection, being
Yep.
abandoned.
Exactly. So she might push harder. Why won't you talk to me? What's wrong? And he withdraws further or gets angrier. It's this devastating cycle where both people desperately want connection, but their automatic shame responses drive them further and further apart. Shame just tears things down.
That whole dynamic makes so much sense of why we build up these defenses, these masks or armor, as Brown calls them. We wear them to protect ourselves from feeling that vulnerability, from being truly seen.
Yeah, absolutely. And it always comes back to that core fear of unworthiness. We put on the armor because we're afraid that if people saw the real, messy, imperfect us, they'd reject us.
So the key to taking the armor off isn't about becoming perfect.
No, not at all. It's about cultivating that belief we talked about earlier that you are enough right now. That's what gives you the courage, little by little, to let the armor go.
Okay, so what are some examples of this armor, these vulnerability shields? The research mentions things like foreboding joy and serpenting. They sound kind of dramatic.
They do, but they're actually really common for boding joy. That's when things are going really well, maybe you feel happy or grateful, but you immediately shut it down.
Why?
You start catastrophizing. You think this is too good to be true, or something terrible is definitely about to happen. You mentally rehearse tragedy, almost like you're trying to protect yourself from future disappointment by not fully embracing the present joy.
Wow. So you sabotage your own happiness to avoid potential future pain.
Pretty much, yeah. Another big one is perfectionism, which isn't really about striving for excellence in a healthy way. It's using the idea of being perfect as a shield. If I look perfect, do perfect, achieve perfect, then nobody can criticize me.
It's armor against judgment.
Exactly. Then there's numbing, using things like food, alcohol, shopping, workaholism, endless busyness, anything to just dull those uncomfortable feelings that come with vulnerability.
Just checking out emotionally. And serpenting, what's that one?
Serpenting is about fitting in at all costs. It's like changing your shape, contorting yourself to match whatever the group expects, trying to become invisible or blend in so you don't stand out, don't get targeted, basically hiding who you really are to avoid feeling vulnerable.
Okay, so all these shields, they feel protective in the moment, but ultimately they just isolate us more.
That's the irony. They defeat the very purpose of seeking connection and belonging.
Right. So we build these shields, but this leads to another concept. You mentioned the disengagement divide. What happens when our shields create a gap between who we claim to be and how we actually act?
Yeah, this is a really powerful idea. The disengagement divide is the gap between our aspired values, what we say we believe in, how we want to think and act, and our practiced values, what we actually do, think, and feel in our daily lives.
So it's hypocrisy, basically. Saying one thing and doing another.
Well, yeah, but it's often less conscious than outright hypocrisy. Kids, though, they're masters at spotting this gap.
Oh, yeah.
Think about a parent who lectures about honesty and respect, but then you see them lying easily or constantly putting down their spouse or complaining about neighbors. That inconsistency creates real confusion and distrust.
It undermines everything.
It does. And wholehearted living isn't about being perfect and never having these gaps. We're human. We'll always have them. It's about developing the awareness to see the gaps when they appear and then having the courage, the vulnerability to try and close them, to align our actions more closely with our values.
Okay, so we've unpacked the theory. Scarcity, shame, armor, the divide. Now, let's talk application. How does this stuff play out in the real world, in our institutions, like work or school?
Oh, the impact of shame in places like workplaces and schools is massive and mostly negative. Shame is basically the enemy of creativity, innovation, and learning.
How so?
Well, think about it. If the culture is thick with shame, are people going to speak up in meetings with a half-baked idea? Are they going to challenge the status quo? Are they going to admit they made a mistake or need help?
Probably not. Too risky. You might get shot down, look stupid, feel ashamed.
Exactly. People play it safe. They don't try new things. They don't persevere after failure because failure becomes evidence of their inadequacy. You get groupthink, withheld feedback, avoidance of tough conversations, just stagnation.
So if an organization wants to be innovative, it has to tackle its shame culture.
Absolutely. Leaders, educators, they need to work on rehumanizing these environments. That means talking about shame, normalizing struggle and failure as part of growth, building awareness of these dynamics, and crucially, modeling vulnerability themselves, showing it's okay not to be perfect.
Okay. That makes sense for work and school.
Yeah.
What about closer to home, parenting? The research talks about wholehearted parenting.
Yeah, and it's such a beautiful, freeing concept. It basically says that great parenting isn't about having all the right answers or using the perfect discipline techniques.
Oh, good. Pressure off.
Right. It's about modeling. It's about striving to be the kind of adult you want your child to become while owning your own imperfections. It's about showing up, being present, and being willing to be vulnerable with your kids, admitting when you mess up, apologizing, talking about your own struggles in age-appropriate ways.
So again, it's closing that disengagement divide. If you preach about emotional honesty but never show your own emotions or admit mistakes,
the kids learn the practiced value, not the preached one. The lesson is always in how we live. And that's one reason Brown's work resonates so much, I think. She shares her own vulnerable stories, her own struggles with these things.
right, it's not just abstract theory.
No, it makes you realize these fears inadequacy, not belonging, messing up their universal. We all feel them, no matter how successful we might look on the outside. It connects the research right back to the messy, complicated reality of just being human. Hashtag tag outro. So, if we had to boil it all down, the central message from Brené Brown's research, especially in Daring Greatly, is really this. Vulnerability isn't weakness. It is, as she says, the core, the heart, the center of meaningful experiences.
Yeah. You literally cannot have deep connection or feel true worthiness without being willing to be vulnerable to take that emotional risk.
It's the birthplace of love, belonging, joy, courage, empathy, all the good stuff.
And I think the really courageous takeaway here is realizing how much we've gotten it backwards. We've somehow learned to confuse feeling deeply with failing. We see emotions as liabilities.
hmm Society tells us vulnerability is dangerous, something to be avoided or armored up against.
But the research flips that entirely. It says vulnerability is actually our clearest path towards the connection and worthiness we crave.
Yeah, and Brown puts it so well, truth and courage aren't always comfortable, but they're never weakness.
That's a powerful place to land. So think about everything we've discussed: scarcity, shame, those gendered triggers, the armor. We want to leave you, our listeners, with something to chew on.
A final thought.
Given how much our culture pushes comparison and criticism, how might really recognizing your own main shame triggers, whether that's the pressure to be perfect and do it all, or the mandate never to appear weak, how might that awareness change how you react? Like the very next time you feel that sting of inadequacy or you find yourself in conflict in a relationship.
Could understanding the trigger help you choose a different response? Maybe one that closes the gap instead of widening it.
Something to think about.
Definitely. Well, thank you for joining us as we dared greatly into this material today.
We really appreciate you tuning in. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.